Welcome to Tell the Damn Story, the show that explores the many ways to navigate the successes and failures that aspiring and struggling writers face to make your journey that much easier.
Oh, hi, Alex. I'm sorry, I'm just in the January doldrums. I wish we had something to
Lift
just
your
energize.
spirits?
Wait a minute, we do have something to energize ourselves. Oh my God, it's
In case you folks can't hear, Chris is really excited that our guest this episode is the lovely, talented Rebecca Cuthbert. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me on again.
Oh, it's a great way to start 2025, and we need great ways to start 2025. This is one of them. Alex Simmons right there, legend in 3D, ladies and gentlemen. Me, Chris Ryan, a murmur, a rumor of a writer. We'll see. We'll find out. Things are coming. We don't know. But between the two of us, we have, let's see, Alex is about 342 years of experience, mostly Alex. And we on Tell the Damn Story, we use our experience to try and make your writing experience smoother and more successful and enjoyable. And today, we're going to ask Rebecca to share her experiences, especially when it comes to promoting both yourself and your work and
Can I
ways
just
to
jump in for a quick second?
You can jump in for the rest of the episode. I'm exhausted.
No. I'm just going to jump in because I just wanted to bolster even more the appreciation of Rebecca, because Rebecca is a professor, all right, and at a university full of students who are thrilled to have her there. She is also a writer. So I just want people to understand that we just have this great person to come on here and talk about, what it's like to promote and blah. She's also a writer, and she has a number of books under her belt, and we'll talk about those, right? A bit,
And
right? And she's also, how would you
publisher.
phrase this, Rebecca? Would you say that you are a co-publisher or
I'm the editor-in-chief
Of Undertaker Books.
of Undertaker Books. Yeah, the guys do the hard stuff. So
yeah, like editing is not hard. Anyway, you'll find out Rebecca juggles many huge barbells, and that's what part of what we're going to talk about. But the focus is going to be on promoting your books, promoting your work, different ways to approach that, and we're going to see how Rebecca does it today.
And Rebecca, I would note that Rebecca promotes herself, kind of has a presence, especially online. Her various writing projects, including one from Seamus Nunzio Productions, Creep This Way, How to Become a Horror Writer, which is it's been expanded, ladies and gentlemen, and this is there we go. It's been nominated for awards, and we continue.
You know that you've got the updated one if you've got the sticker.
That's right. That's the thing you got to look at, and also as
the art for the cover.
As a representative of Undertaker Books, which, if I remember correctly, is feminist horror. Yes?
Well, Undertaker is all dark fiction.
All dark fiction.
So we do horror, we do mystery, noir, thrillers, dark fantasy, we inclusive of many genres, but I guess the thing we don't do is light and happy.
I'm out of luck. Because I'm so light and happy.
That'll be Angel Food Books. They do the light and happy, but Undertaker Books does the dark and spooky. Okay, gotcha.
All right, so
our logo is a moon and a coffin, so I feel like we're pretty well branded.
I can see the musical. Yeah, okay. All right. So, Chris, you're going to say.
Well, the way I have the notes in front of us, Alex, I think that you might want to ask the first question.
Oh, okay. I get to go first. So again, just to sort of give some context, a lot of writers, either struggling and established or emerging or aspiring writers, that you write your first short story, your book, your comic, your graphic novel, whatever, and you figure, I did it, and I just sort of throw it out there and people will come. And it doesn't always work that way.
So that's sweet work if you can get it.
Yeah, really. It's really nice. If you're that fortunate, please call us. But I wanted to know, Rebecca, in terms of how you have handled your experiences, do you have or do you feel one needs to have a promotion plan?
I do. I do think you need a plan, even if your plan is, I'm going to go to 2 events this year. I'm going to email 5 reviewers, and I'm going to post to social media once a week. Like that would be a very conservative, plan. It's not a ton, but honestly, that's more than a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you yourself post fairly regularly, sometimes multiple times a day. Is that part of your plan or part of who you are as a person?
Well, part of it is that I'm on social media too much. So that's part of it. But I do try to make sure I'm not only posting about my books. I think that as happy as your friends are to see your book out there and to see the things you're doing as a writer, I think, at least half of your posts need to be about you being a human.
Yeah, yeah.
And what is the effect of that? Why do that?
Well, a lot of what I'm going to call my readership are my friends. Like these are people I know, and so they know me first, and then therefore they will pick up a book, as a kind gesture toward me, but they know me first.
Now, in person, face-to-face friends, there's childhood friends or high school or college friends, but you also have, as many of us do now, online friends. So are you including all of those?
All of those, yep.
Oh. And I want to emphasize, and maybe you can kind of comment on it. When you see a Rebecca Cuthbert post, it could be about a book, hers or someone else's, her friends, or this or that. It could be about something that's upcoming, but it just as easily could be about, I'm planting the garden, I'm
Walking the dog,
pickling cucumbers or something like that. It could be baking 48 loaves of banana bread, the adventures of your dog Athena.
He's not making any of this up, folks.
No,
He's not
volunteering, volunteering at animal shelter. You don't really talk about weather, although we know that you get a ton of it up there. But it's not something that I've seen you post. It's not like, look outside the window. Oh, you can't see the window anymore. It's just snow. You don't tend to do those.
I
But
do
you really present a
sometimes.
lot.
I do
Yeah.
sometimes, but I think that if you live near Buffalo and you complain about the weather every day, like you're going to get bored with yourself.
Sure, sure. But all of these personal things, they definitely add to the sense of Rebecca-ness that is on social media. How much of that is just naturally you, and how much of that is part of the promo plan? And then I have a follow-up question.
So promo stuff is when it includes a book, or someplace I'm going to be, some event. When this podcast episode airs, I'll make sure to put up a post about that with the link. And then everything else is just, my life.
Okay, so this is where not only the people in the audience, but maybe me can learn a bit. I definitely struggle with how much of my social life or my personal life to share. There is an aspect of me that is a wise ass Bronx guy, and little sarcasm comes out, a little political humor comes out, but I don't know. I mean, I don't even, when I can help myself, I don't mention my wife by name because she's very reserved about that stuff. We've come up with Glorious as the name we use now. And you'll mention, your husband in passing, but you seem to have some of that as well. But how did you get so comfortable with sharing the cooking, whether it was successful or not? Because sometimes you post both, which is so humanizing.
I don't know if you can see that. That's a new burn.
Oh no.
Oh,
that's
scars.
That's from all those loaves of banana bread I made the other day because I'm clumsy too. So I think that when I started an account on Facebook. It was well behind everybody else. I didn't have an account until 2009. So I was in grad school by that time. And so for a while, I had a very small circle. I just was Facebook friends with my actual real life friends, and some family members. And it grew from there. I think it would be tougher to already be trying to do this as a writer. Like if I had no social media and if I were to go on it today, I think I would feel a little bit lost and I would feel like I had to constantly promote.
Right.
I think I would get the ratio off, but I've been on Facebook a lot longer than I've been publishing anything,
So what's your ratio that you're comfortable with?
It's not something I measure, but if I post more than twice about a book project or something in a day, I'll probably tell myself like, hey, give people a break from the business stuff.
I want to interject here and simply say that in terms of online practices, entrepreneurial online practices and theories and methodologies about promotion ratio.
Guys, I'm sorry. Can you hang on just a sec?
Yes.
Sure.
Speaking of Athena, she just got caught in the Afghan on the spare bed and threw a very dramatic little tantrum, and my husband had to come save her. So.
Is she okay now?
She is absolutely fine.
Okay, good. So I'll just quickly say the ratio factor is usually they talk about a 2-to-1. So two posts about elements. For instance, for us, when we do about writing, we might do 2 tips and then 1 post for promotional purposes, whether it's again an appearance or a sale or something like that. But the idea is, yes, you don't want your audience that you're, especially since you're trying to build it, you want them to think that, oh, every single time this person posts, they want my money. Because that's not the logic that serves many of us. Some people, yes, but not many. So it's usually like 2-to-1. And there's some other theories about that, but that's the one that I sort of adhere to. Because I also, like Chris, do not want to go on constantly, saying, give me your money, give me your money, give me your money. But at the same time, you don't want to go in the reverse and constantly giving out information and talking about that and not mentioning anything at all in terms of sales.
I have 2 questions.
Okay.
What platforms do you prefer?
Platforms I prefer. So I know there's talk about the Meta company sites not being quite as user friendly anymore. So we'll see how those go.
Right.
For now, I'm on Facebook the most. And then, I'll share over to Instagram. I'm getting more into Blue Sky because I left Twitter. I do have a Threads account, but I always forget about it. Not good at posting there. Yeah. The thing that saves me a little bit with Threads is if I post to Instagram from my phone, it goes to Facebook and to Threads.
Okay.
So that's nice. I'm on LinkedIn, but I never go on there. And
yeah, I can't make that one work for me.
Yeah. And I'm trying to wade into the waters of TikTok, though now we're hearing that might be banned as well.
Right.
So we'll see.
And there are so many other platforms, but I'm exhausted. What?
Do you have a promotional schedule?
I do not have a promotional schedule, though I recommend it for other people who are less chaotic.
Well, no, because now let me challenge that. You said your life or you are chaotic. So why wouldn't you have some sort of a schedule that would support or take some of the stress out of your promotional or your staying in contact with your audience base?
I think it's the horrible curse of being a chaotic person is that you need organization more than anyone else, but you can't quite get your stuff together enough to put all that in place.
So that's for you. Do you operate on the same principle for for Undertaker books and
well, like I said, for Undertaker, so my 2 partners, DL and Cyan, they are the organized ones. So if, they have to remind me about, hey, Rebecca, did you finish editing this book yet? I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I'll get that to you today. So I think I would be lost without them. And probably lost without my husband, who remembers things for me a lot of the time.
So you don't use a calendar or some
Oh, I
sort of
have a calendar, but you got to remember to write things in the calendar. You got to remember to look at the calendar.
notifications, nothing, none of that? Okay.
I highlight things. I try. Like I said, it's a mess.
Okay. All right.
She's got, this is a place maybe to talk about something we talked about in an earlier appearance of the Rebecca Cuthbert, that notebook that you have, or 2 or 3 notebooks.
I have many
Right.
notebooks. Yep.
Right, with highlights and notes and dates and all in what, because you just have to find what works for you.
Yep.
And being in the middle of the maelstrom seems to work for you on that.
I will say though, I've been trying to chunk up my days with my responsibilities, and that has been working well. On Mondays, I try to focus on editing work. Tuesday is sort of a miscellaneous day. Wednesday is promotion for Undertaker. Thursday is for my own writing. And then Friday is for trying to promote my own books, you know, whether that is emailing possible reviewers or making social media graphics or, you know, sharing some posts or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So you have given yourself a plan of sorts.
A plan.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
A Monday through Friday.
And kind of a
plan.
schedule. Yes.
Kind of.
Right. And you batch the particular work for that particular day. Okay. And let me just focus on the Friday for a moment, because you said Friday you work on your books, the things that you put out. And then, as you also just said, it might be reaching out to reviewers or something else. Do you look at Friday morning and go, okay, what can I do today regarding my books? Or on Monday, are you thinking, oh, come Friday, I got to remember to do such and such?
In one of my chaos notebooks, which is my planner.
I like the name, by the way, Chaos Notebooks.
I have a stack of them on my desk next to me. If I know I need to do something, I will write it in my planner. So the planner is for events, but it's also a to-do list. Today, I needed to finish a book cover for a friend. So I had that written down, you know, finish book cover. It was Chris's book cover.
The publisher said he loves the cover, by the way.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's if I know I need to do something, I'll write it down. And if I forget to do it, I circle it, move it down to the next day.
And I do need to, this is another thing that is promotion related, ladies and gentlemen. If somebody does something for you, make sure you thank them and thank them well. So I felt like the email I sent you was a little too brief. So thank you, Rebecca Cuthbert. Once again, what a beautiful cover for an upcoming project. And it has a great mood to it.
That was a fun cover to make.
That was really cool. So I appreciate it. And I wanted to say thank you very much. And there you go.
You are very welcome. And everybody should
be able to get a peek at this, or
yeah, be on the lookout for.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're ready for a cover reveal. I think
I don't know.
Build that up a little bit.
That's probably for Chris's social media.
Dun, dun, dun. Stay tuned. Yeah. Last question about the whole social media clump, and then back to the questions we have. Can you discuss commenting on other people's posts as part of promotion? Do you consider it part of promotion? How do you take that?
So I think we may have talked about this before, Chris. I don't know if it was on the show or if it was, just in conversation, but I hate the word networking. Like, it's so gross and mercenary, it's like, to me, the connotation is, what can I get from these people in this room?
Right.
Who's the most important person? Who can I talk to? And that's just kind of gross. And if you're behaving that way, it's going to be really obvious really fast that you only have one objective for pretending to be someone's friend. I don't like that. So I do like the term community building. I do like the term supporting other people. So I don't consider it part of promotion, but I do consider it part of community building to like other people's posts, to tell them congratulations, to tell them good job, tell them you like their new book cover. Tell them that their event sounds cool. Like it costs nothing but a few seconds to just be nice to someone who's excited about what they're doing.
Yes.
And that's kind of a golden rule thing, because of course you want people to be supportive of you, and you can't expect that from the universe if you are not yourself participating in that community building and in that supporting.
I agree. I'm going to use myself as an example, and maybe you can give some advice for it. But when I'm not, I mean, I know I can be energetic on this show, or, when when I'm doing a reading or whatever. But I tend to be, I know Alex always laughs at this, but I tend to be the quietest one in my family, quietest one in a group. So I find myself having to force myself to participate and to reply and stuff, because it's always like, what are you going to add, Chris, that is going to be useful or appreciated? And that's a stupid way to approach social media. So what would you advise the shy and quiet and retiring types as far as participating in social media?
It is, I'm gonna call out a co-friend of ours, a mutual friend, John Collins.
Yes, John Collins.
Okay, John Collins, one of the nicest people I have ever met.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not going to speak for John, so I don't know if he considers himself sort of shy or introverted. I do know that, he does put up posts, but John is just steadfast and sort of quietly supportive of all of his friends on social media.
I agree.
He is one of the first people to say congratulations to you if you've got a new project going.
Mm-hmm.
If something exciting happens, he'll send me a direct message and just say, "Hey, I was really happy to see your name today on this," And I think it's a matter of, you don't have to add to a conversation. Sometimes it's not a conversation. Sometimes it's just giving somebody a little pat on the back. Say congratulations, give them a thumbs up. Even shy people can do that.
Yep, there you go.
And share for people.
Yeah.
If somebody's posting about their books, a picture of their book cover, the announcement of an event, a link to a show they did, or to a review, if it's a friend of yours, just hit share.
There you go. Great advice.
If you want to, you can say, "Look what my friend is doing," but the easiest thing in the world is to just hit that share button.
Excellent. Let me ask this. How do you use, and it may be different platforms for different use, I don't know, but how do you use social media to get the word out about yourself as an author versus your new works, whether it's a book of your own or Undertaker books? Is there a differentiation in your mind?
So a long time ago, I decided that I was going to be myself all the time, and that there wasn't going to be a huge separation between the person my friends know and the person readers know, or whatever, person that students know. I don't want to feel like I have to wear a costume or like pretend to be these different personas in different situations. I will say that I might filter myself more when I'm in public. I might try to fix my posture a little bit because I'm a sloucher. But, I understand when people have that separation. I understand when people want to be one person at home and one person at work. I respect that. For me, it was a personal decision. I don't have like a professional account versus a private account. Like, you're getting the books and the banana bread, or just don't follow me.
There's another title in there, the books and the banana bread.
That's the memoir.
Yes, banana bread and
the
books.
full memoir.
The memoirs of Rebecca Cuthbert. Yes.
So that's a great answer. I appreciate it. Now, does that include Undertaker books as well, or do you have a group think on what goes out for that company?
We are really lucky. I'm really lucky. Cyan and DL already had plans for the press, and we all used to work together for a different press that went under.
Right.
And we three, we noticed that we were always on the same page. We worked hard, we communicated, we had ideas that we shared. And so it was a natural thing for the two of them to pair up. And then they invited me to be the editor-in-chief.
Very
And
cool.
so we already knew we got along. We already knew that we were on the same page about a lot of things like quality and honesty. We really, Lord, we don't pretend to be perfect. We mess up. We messed up big time this week. We'll mess up again, and we're always just going to be honest, apologize, see what we can do to clean up our mess and try to learn from it and do better. But we do have a little policy that it's all of us or none of us when we decide on something. So I do not strong arm them about a book I want to take. I will tell them what it is. I'll tell them why I think it's exciting. And usually I can get them to buy in and vice versa. But if one of us flat out did not want to publish a book, we wouldn't publish it.
So it seems that the message that I'm getting from you, Rebecca, starting with our first question and up to what is our fourth question thus far, is it's important to you to be your authentic self, to be
Very.
a consistent Rebecca Cuthbert. Whoever she is, this is who she is, this is who you meet. And this also translates into my work and the promotion of my work, as well as my association with my associates in the publishing world, in this case, Undertaker Books.
Yep.
So again, promoting, and I just want to sort of maybe clarify a couple of things for the audience. So in terms of the first question, when we asked you, do you have a promotional plan? You talked about your chaotic life and how you don't necessarily have a very detailed plan. And sometimes it's sort of a hit and miss when you do such and such. But you do have certain days of the week that you've assigned particular tasks to that day. So that in that way, even though there may be chaos in the world of Rebecca Cuthbert, in that way, Monday is organized for one, Tuesday for another, Wednesday for a third, and so on. And that gives you some clarity. You also keep notes about the things you need to do or your thoughts so that you can refer to those and check back with yourself so you can somewhat keep track of your task and your expectations. The third question was, well, actually, it's the fourth question. How do you use different social medias? And you mentioned the ones that you seem to be most comfortable with, at the same time acknowledging, which we all must, that in here in 2025, the playing field of social media is shifting, both because of trends and things to that ilk, but also company policies, and in one case, possibly a governmental policy.
Yep.
So that means that we, as entrepreneurs, as writers, as publishers, need to look at or stay aware of what's going on in the field in terms of that business structure so that we can best utilize our time and our efforts to promote our material. Does that about sum up what we've gotten from you so far?
Yes, because there really was a noticeable decline in the presence of the writerly community on Twitter in recent months. When I first joined Twitter, and again, I was very late, it was like 2022, it was nice. It was a nice place, and it was a lot of writers being supportive of each other. I met some writers there, and we had a little writing group and everything. It was great. And then that kind of fell off and fell off and fell off. And so you were just yelling into the void, and there was no engagement or community. So I think that you kind of feel that, oh, this is really not working. And, we talked about how for us, we're not living the corporate life. So LinkedIn is not going to be where we find our people. If certain channels go away, we're going to have to find new ones.
Yes.
Let me actually throw out a thought that a number of the online entrepreneurs that I follow, some of the professionals that I follow, all sort of speak on this particular technique for dealing with what exactly you just brought up, which is if a platform goes away or changes its policies or gets banned or whatever. and that is to use social media as it has been and as it is at the moment to build up our email list. Because the idea is, again, unless some change comes along, you have control of your email list. You have a way of reaching your marketplace, your friends, your fans, if you have their email address in your files, as opposed to having to go through a Facebook, Twitter, or whomever in order to reach the audience base.
Yeah, and I don't have one, but a lot of writers I know have newsletters, and they have, sign up pop-ups on their websites.
Mm-hmm.
I have a blog that I post to. Will not surprise you that I post to it irregularly, and I'm not sure that I will do a newsletter if I continue the blog. They seem to have a lot of overlap for me.
Mm-hmm.
I know that newsletters are more about you as a person and what you're doing, and the blog is more about a particular topic. But for me, there's so much overlap anyway that it doesn't make sense for me to do both. But I'm getting slowly convinced that I need to do a newsletter by friends.
Newsletters can also be a form of a digest. In other words, things that you talked about. Let me use your banana bread thing for instance. Let's say that over the past through 2024, you posted several different banana bread recipes and experiences and things like that. You might pick the top ones or the ones that you got the best. And then, so as your newsletter would be a digest, banana bread recipes or writing tips or things like that. So your newsletter can be a way of channeling people back to things that you on your blog. My 5 best posts for such and such on my blog were, but here's a newsletter to lead you to that through a link and that sort of thing. So newsletters can be different things. They don't have to just be about us, but again, it depends on how one wants to use it. But you have focused on what you feel are the platforms and the technology that best serves you and your mindset at this point. Okay. All right.
Yep. So a newsletter might be down the road, but it does not exist yet.
What do you think about Substack? That seems to be a newsletter app, but I have used it like that, and then I have used it like a blog, so I have to kind of clarify
I think
where things are.
For some people, Substack is nice because they use it as a website. Like they have their Substack account is basically their website, and then they can send out newsletters or blog posts through Substack. For me, by the time Substack came about, I already had a website. I already had a blog. So there was no need for me to go over. I did create an account because I had to use it for a short-lived job. So I think that I'm on there somewhere, but I'm not really. Sort of my ghost.
I haven't found one of the things I read with Substack a lot, but it's mostly more widely or maybe worldly established authors. Brian Keene, who mentioned you in, was it last Sunday's Substack? His I forget, he has a special name for what he calls his Substack, Brian Keene, but that was really cool to see your name in there. But I don't see myself as garnering so much interest that I need to do a Brian Keene-esque newsletter at this point. So I'm still trying to figure out what use that Substack would be for me.
I'm going to challenge you on that, but not now. Towards the end of the episode.
Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. The challenge is coming
because there is a square off going to happen here.
That's interesting.
Let me just jump to the next question, Rebecca. Do you have or have you designed or do you design different promo plans or campaigns for each book? Or do you have some sort of a template or routine or formula that you use across the board, whether it's Undertaker or your own stuff?
No, because part of that is which publisher is publishing the books and what they do. You're working with a team of other people. So I published one of my books it was out in October called Self-Made Monsters. And I published that through Alien Buddha Press. And Alien Buddha doesn't really have a big marketing program or, rollout plans. So for that, I sort of designed my own little pre-order form. I just had it was a Google form that I set up.
It's like a landing page sort of thing. Is that?
Yeah, it was like, send me your money and give me your address and
I'll get the darn books to you.
And I'm going to get you a book. And I made these really poorly done, about that big. And, they were little ghosts and, pumpkins or whatever. And I sent everybody who pre-ordered that as a little gift. And I went down the line and I let the first person who had ordered pick, which was Jonathan Gensler, my buddy Johnny. So, I messaged Johnny first. I was like, you're the first one on my list. Which one of these do you want? And I let people pick. I had, evil mermaids and all sorts of silly stuff. So,
handmade items?
Yeah.
So they were almost kind of a one-of-a-kind kind of thing. Handmade?
Well, they were definitely one of a kind because I have no skill when it comes to embroidery. I have no training. I did not use professional embroidery material. I used old shirts that I cut into pieces. And there were no patterns that I used. I just was like, sometimes I would look at a picture online or just, this is what a pumpkin looks like, close enough. So the stitches aren't right. They're not straight.
They were adorable though.
Thank you. And I told people, it was kind of a joke, but I said, you literally can't buy this on Etsy because they're going to be well done if you get them from Etsy. This little Uggo here, I was calling them Uggo embroideries for a while. This is one of a kind because it's poorly done. You can't find its duplicate anywhere in the world.
So it's unique.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Okay. See, that's a nice little promotional gimmick. That's really very kind of cool, actually.
That was fun. I had to, for months, I was just like doing little embroideries at night. It'd take me 2 or 3 nights to do each one. And so it was a lot of work. And I did not have time to do those again for my January book, which I'm going to take this moment to pitch here. So this is 6 O'Clock House and Other Strange Tales. And it's all literary horror stories and dark magical realism stories. So this is coming out January 21st, and I did not have time to do any little embroideries for folks, but lucky for me, that publisher, Water Tower Hill Publishing, they run all the pre-orders and stuff. So it was not a task on my list to need to check off. So it was just a nice thing to not have to.
So I'm sorry.
No.
So in some cases, for your projects, for your books, you do develop some sort of a promotional plan, no matter how simple it may be, or in some cases, how unique your particular promotional gimmick might be, but you do come up with something. And in case where you're working with a publisher who has a promotion campaign in mind or their own template or methodology, then you might pull back in terms of certain responsibilities, but I suspect you will still promote in some way, shape, or form your books with them.
Yeah. And so the people who run Water Tower Hill, Joshua and Heather, they're great, but they have jobs. I don't expect them to spend 8 hours a day promoting my book. That's not a reality. And I think anyone who thinks that's a reality is going to have a disappointment in store for them. Right. Small press publishers do not have, extensive marketing teams or budgets or time. That's a labor of love. Chris knows that well. It's something you try to do in your free time, and that time is sacrificed from family and friends and your own writing. So we small press publishers and editors, we fit it in here and there and we do our best, but the lion's share of the promotion should be the author's responsibility. Yeah. In coordination, like we want to help and we're going to help as much as we can. The capabilities are not limitless.
It's true. I'm sorry. Sunny is going crazy. I'm not sure. I think it's because Robbie the mailman has arrived, but yes, he's lying. He's never gonna bite that mailman, but sorry for that distraction. but well done. And it also ties into what would have been the next question, because these things, these little extras that you send, and speaking of Brian Keene, I recently got an order from his Vortex Books bookstore, and he adds a lot of extras. It's really a great thing when you open up and there's just a little something extra there. James did that with Kolchak when I got that book. He had that.
Oh yeah, I got
that
my
was very cool.
postcard.
Yeah.
I got the
So those are good things to
Yep.
do, but it also goes towards growing your audience, because those little thoughtful extras, there's kind of a bonding, they're like, wow, that was really cool of her, for me, that was really cool of Brian or James or whatever. And it brings you to another level of loyalty, or brand loyalty, or wanting to see more from that company, or in this case, that author. How else do you go about growing your audience, or do you give it a lot of thought?
I think that I probably gain, I'm not going to say fans, that feels like such a strong word, friends, people who might say hello at the next conference and might consider picking up a book, from events where I get to meet people and I get to do readings.
Now, how many events do you like to do per year? And is there a difference? I'm sorry?
Three-ish.
That's the big ones, right? Like a StokerCon or a big conference. But there's levels, right? Doing something at the local library.
Yep.
Going to a local book fest, different thing than going to one of those big conferences.
Yep.
There's a different mindset when you're at a table with your books or whatever is in front of you and you're talking, as opposed to not having a table at all and wandering, like a StokerCon coming up. I'm going to be wandering.
And there's nothing wrong with wandering, but I would say that if you get an opportunity to put your name in the hat for something, that you should do that. You can't control whether the organizers are going to give you a chance,
Right.
But when they send around those questionnaires, I say, yes, I would love to moderate a panel. Yes, I would love to be included in the mass author signing, when you get a table for a half hour or whatever it is. Yes, I'd like to do a reading.
I want to address that. A reading is a different animal for me. Yes, I would do a reading anywhere at any time, right? You're going to be doing a reading at Scares That Cares. Is that down in Virginia?
Yes.
Yes, that's fantastic. That's almost worth going down there just for that. Ladies and gentlemen, get those tickets. And this is where Alex will have a problem with me again. So we'll be defining a little more of the Christopher Ryan problem. But I have an intolerance for utter bullshit. Right? Sorry for the language. But like I refuse, and it's probably something that Alex will get really pissed at, but I refuse to put my name out for panels because I feel like something like StokerCon, I'm not seen as an established author yet, even though, yes, I have like 13, 15 publications one way or another. That's 5 Soul Screen books or 6 Soul Screen books and all my own stuff, but it's because it's independently published. And if people in Horror Writers Association get mad at me, I look forward to their cards and letters. But it is not, you're not seen the same way. You aren't. And to be on a panel where you're not going to be respected, that's bullshit to me. Or to force yourself on when you have nothing to say. I've seen so many panels where half the panel has nothing really to say. And I think it's the same reason I didn't coach my son's baseball teams in Little League, because I knew stickball, and I thought you had to respect the genre. Now I say all this because I would love for either or both of you to decimate that position and show me where I'm wrong.
Okay, so the first thing I'm thinking is, yes, StokerCon is full of the popular kids. It's full of the big names. It's full of the cool kids, you know, the cool kids in high school who ignored many of us, you know. It's full of those names and those people who are stars, you
And
know.
many of them were like us, and they've worked really, really hard to get where they
Many of them
are.
were. Many of them were.
Yeah.
But what I mean by that is we're not going to get the same billing as them for sure. Right? But I'm not going to go to StokerCon thinking that I'm going to get the attention V Castro is getting. You know, when I filled out my survey for StokerCon, I actually did not say that I wanted to be on a panel. I said I wanted to moderate a panel because I'm good at it. I do my homework. I make sure everybody gets a chance to talk. I'm interested in what they have to say.
I think I would be great at it too, and I have been great at it.
And then I would say that StokerCon is not the only convention. You know, I'm going to Imaginarium in July, and I will be on panels at Imaginarium. And that was not because, you know, someone reached out to me with an invitation. That was me filling out a Google form and saying, hey, I would love to do this if you'll have me. And then I, you know, was fortunate enough to be accepted. But there are so many opportunities that aren't StokerCon. And I think that because StokerCon is the most famous, that's the one people think of when they think of convention, when they think of panels, you know?
So what you're saying is start at some of the smaller conventions and be on those panels. And
start or just in the mix. Like when I go to StokerCon, I know that I'm kind of going more as a fan. I know I'm going to see my friends, you know? For something like, so what Chris was talking about was the charity event called Spirited Giving that James Sabata founded back in 2022. And so it's a sort of a charity performance by a few readers and an MC. Yeah. And that's going to be attached to AuthorCon Scares That Care this year. So Thursday night, we're going to do Spirited Giving, and then AuthorCon will start Friday. When I go to that, I'm going to be at work because I am going to be a guest for Spirited Giving. So I need to do that reading on Thursday night. You know, I need to be available to talk to folks. My book will still be fairly new. Water Tower Hill is going to have a table in the vendor room. I'm going to take a couple of shifts, you know, watching the table so that, you know, Joshua and Heather can go enjoy themselves and so that I can sign books if anyone's interested. It's also going to be the first birthday of Undertaker Books. We were born last April. You know, somehow, some way, very casually, you know, I'll invite a few folks I know to just gather with me in one of those little comfy hotel alcoves, you know, to toast our first birthday. But I'm working that weekend.
Yeah. I'm going to stop you, Chris. I'm going to stop you because what I'm going to focus on is what Rebecca is saying, another aspect of what she's saying, but also where I'm coming from with this is we get in our own way. We absolutely get in our own way. We make assumptions about the value of our material. We make assumptions about whether or not someone's going to like us or not. That's our own BS blocking our moving forward. And when you recognize the reality that you have created something with the sole purpose of, you know, whatever your passion is, you've created this book, you've told this story, and you want it out there into the world. The last thing in the world that's going to serve you is to go, oh, well, you know, I probably should. No, it's got to be, here it is. Now, how do I get it out there? How do I make connections? Who do I talk to? And you got to get over your own. And one of the things that happens is, I mean, I speak from, and I love the fact that you playfully and yet sincerely put me, forward as this icon and all this kind of stuff. And I love you for it, and it's fun and everything. But the reality is I am only at a certain point and space and level in this publishing industry that we've experienced, all of us are experiencing. There are a whole bunch of people above me in terms of recognition and money and volumes of work out there that don't know me from Adam. And by the same token, I will attend the events. I will talk to people. I will talk to audiences. I will talk to fellow artists. I will do whatever I have to do because I am, and going back to what Rebecca said, being your authentic self. You're not pretending to be a writer. You are a writer. You've written this. If you haven't sold as many books as Stephen King, okay, at some point Stephen hadn't done it. But here you are with your best effort, present, be. And the panel thing that you talk about, you can be on a panel and you can say whatever you can say. You can add whatever value you can. If you, not you, Chris, but if in general a person is thinking, well, the cool kids aren't going to, then don't deal with the cool kids. Or if you're going to get on a panel with the cool kids, what are you going to bring to that panel? What are you going to share? Because it's just like when we talk to our students and we say, who you are, where you come from, what you believe is a filter through which your stories are going to be told. So, yeah, 7 plots in the universe, but you're not going to tell the story the same way 30 other people are going to do that. So what are you bringing to the table? What do you have to share? What do you have to offer? In your case, Chris, you've got a ton of experiences to offer, not only your own personal, but also the experiences of having taught hundreds of other people, and 2 I know of who have been on our show and spoken about what they got from you that helped them get where they are now. So literally, you just need to be and go where you need to go to support what you're going for.
At risk of starting an argument.
Yeah, start the argument. Go ahead. Go.
I am being.
Good.
And I know exactly how much work I've done. And I know what I bring to the table. And I've put out for the last 3 years fucking quality work. But there are some places where I'm not recognized yet. And I'm fine with that. But I really detest the people who force their way in. It's not my style. I think that I've done a lot to express community, especially with Soul Scream. And I've done a lot to recognize other people's talents and raise them up.
Absolutely.
Believing that, rising tide raises
all ships.
And there are those who I've met through doing all this that swear by me. And that's cool. But the point I'm making here today, as far as pushing yourself onto a panel when you don't have anything to contribute is bullshit. I believe it's bullshit. I also believe that Rebecca has something to contribute to any panel in the universe. But, I'm going to, it's happening this year. Okay. Some of the things that I had in my list of things I wanted to accomplish is starting to accomplish, where that thick-headedness that you love so much, Alex, will go towards, I have done these things that I think merit me being here amongst everyone as an equal. Yeah, I'm a great teacher, and I'm really good at public speaking, and I can moderate the hell out of a panel. I know all these things. I have some things that are on my list to do before I believe that, okay, I can present this and expect to be taken, And there are a couple of smaller cons that I put myself out there for. And, there's, whether it's a cliqueness or whether they didn't do their research, they missed the opportunity to benefit from what I can bring to the table.
Okay.
There's also a convention coming up this year that I never expected to be invited to, but they seem to notice that me and you have something to offer. And so those things happen.
There you go.
And
I think this speaks
we each do things a little differently.
This
but
speaks to,
I believe it's
again,
coming together for me.
what we talk about, and what this whole thing is about promotion. And there are different mindsets and attitudes and things that people have to deal with, overcome. Yes, pushback, negativity, stupidity, and some of the other colorful words that we've been using, that we have to get through, that we have to deal with. And you're not always going to get accepted and all that. But yeah, taking those steps, again, what you've done, what Rebecca does, what I do, taking those steps, coming out and presenting is absolutely a matter of, it's a part of the journey. It's something you have to do. And how well we win at it or whatever, that's also a part of the experience, which is again why we were doing this episode. I want to just quickly say that, because of, I'm also looking at the time. Rebecca, you had said something a little while ago, and it made me look at the next question we had. Can you discuss best practices for getting other, and see, this does tie in, for getting other authors to promote or blurb about your books? So, and again, Chris just mentioned
Rebecca is great to ask this
soul
question.
screaming on. So yeah, so Rebecca, what do you say to that?
I think it just goes back to going to your community. I ask my friends. Sometimes I ask my friend's friend, and they can help me out, sort of connect me to someone lovely. I don't often reach out to strangers, but I do sometimes, just someone I really admire. And maybe they write back and maybe they don't, and maybe they say yes and maybe they don't, but they can't say yes if I don't ask. But for the most part, when I need blurbs, I go to the people I know who are my friends. And
But you asked me to blurb in Memory of Exoskeletons, which was your first collection, and it was poems. And we really hadn't known each other that much yet. So
you were my
want
first
to
invitation to an anthology. You have.
I was?
Yeah, that was the first time I had ever been invited to an anthology.
Secret badass right here.
And it was, and so that when you say, people know you, people know that, people, you do matter to people and they do remember those things. But for me, in that case, like, you had invited me to Soul Scream. So we started being friends. You got me to join the HWA New York. So I did not know you.
True. I guess what I was trying to say was that there is a sense, there's a bit of bravery and that I admire among so many. There's a long list of things I admire about you, but that
The banana bread being one of them.
Yeah, I could never do that. That you are willing to take a chance. I guess this is the point I'm trying to make for this show at this moment. One of the things you do really well is you're willing to take a chance and ask a question. You're fully cognizant that no one dies from that. So maybe you can talk on that for a second. Just the willingness.
Just this morning, I wrote to two very well-known authors in the community, asking them for some advice on something. And maybe they will write back, but they haven't.
Yeah.
Now, I was terrified to ask Laurel Hightower. Laurel Hightower is a big deal.
Yes, she is. But also a wonderful human being.
So lovely. And the friend of a friend.
Ah, very cool.
So I can't say that she would have said no otherwise, but I was asking a friend of a friend, and my friend had put in a good word for me.
But you still took the step. You put out the effort. You didn't.
The worst thing she could have done is just not emailed me back.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Right.
What did you say?
Sorry. The worst thing that can happen is you just don't get a response. That's worse than a no.
Yeah. And that's a measure of the person. Occasionally it happens by accident. I dropped the ball on Robert O'Tone recently for the expansion of Come All Ye Faithless. He had actually sent me something, and I thought I had gotten back to him, and it was a major sin for me. I wrote him and kind of begged his forgiveness, because it was not how I conduct myself. And if someone does conduct themselves that way, just blows off. Well, then, you reveal what you do or what you don't do reveals something about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes people are busy. Sometimes they don't see something. Sometimes messages get buried. Like, I'm not condemning the people who haven't written me back today.
Oh, but
maybe they will, maybe they
that's
won't.
not where they're at right now.
Yeah, but that's okay. I'm not in worse shape than I was before I messaged them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just like something that maybe is not gonna work out, is not going to yield any information for me. That's okay.
You actually answered a couple of the questions that we had here.
We're getting close to the end of these questions.
Some of our dialogue, but I do want to see if we can come up with just a little bit more insight from you on what are the promotional aspects of getting nominated or winning an award? Because you have.
I have. I'm gonna brag about it too.
Yes, brag away.
I'm gonna get my trophy,
which I just happen to have right here.
It's just a little plastic gold trophy, but I got to tell you guys that I was not a trophy winner as a kid. I was not athletic. Sometimes I played a sport for fun, to hang out with my friends, but I'm not gifted in that way. So trophies were not, I think I maybe got a participation trophy that everybody else got one time. And that was probably the extent of it. So it was really exciting at, 41 years old to get a trophy for something. That was so fun. Yeah.
You can see one right up there.
Yes, the heart.
Yeah, I keep that around. That was given by a children's advocate group when I was a journalist way back in the day.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And the reason I keep that because it grounds me. I picked up a phone at the Bronx Press Review, and it was a mom in tears. And her daughter had been molested by the corner store owner. And that was all I needed to run with this story. And we wound up having to do about 10 or 15 stories because the judge kept postponing because the guilty guy who had admitted his guilt didn't want to be sentenced in front of the little girl. And I actually took on the DA, the Bronx DA at that point. And he says, what will it take to get this story off the front page of the Bronx Press Review? And I said, you have to make sure that little kid gets to see justice. He goes, next time there won't be another delay. He'll be sentenced and or I will have that ADA's job. I said, okay. So I wrote that story. And then we got a 1:00 court call. And I went with the family. Of course, it's a perfect ending article. And this judge moved up the sentencing without telling the family. And that guy was already on his way to Rikers. And I ripped into the DA so much on the front page that he didn't run for re-election. We wound up getting the first African-American DA in the Bronx as a result of that. And I thought that was the end of the story. And then the channel advocates called me and asked me to come to a dinner, and they gave me that. And it just reminds me that just do it because it's right. And it wasn't about a career. It wasn't about an award. It was about what's right. Sometimes in fiction, you have to let people know, hey, it's worth looking at this book. And you're great at that. You're great at contacting Imaginarium, or you got, what is the sticker that we have on the cover of Creep?
That's the Sinister Scoop, Golden Scoop Award nominee sticker.
So both of those, you approached the organizations, right?
No, not all of them. Okay, so for this one, this is the Imagine Award, and this is run by the organizers of the Imaginarium convention every year.
Yes.
Now they're open to many genres. They are not strictly spooky stuff.
Right.
And they have different categories. And they have each year you can kind of enter, you can put your work forward. So either an author can do it or a publisher can do it. That's it.
Right.
Okay, so basically you can nominate yourself, your publisher can nominate you, one or the other. I don't remember if I did it or if the publisher at Alien Buddha put it forward. If he
Okay.
did, it's because I asked him to.
Okay.
So, but he did.
Either way, you
If
did
he
it.
did, he did. So I didn't really expect to win, but I was thrilled to win. It was lovely. I got the best poetry collection for In Memory of Exoskeletons.
Well deserved.
And
Thank you.
what did you do with that nomination or with that win from a promotional standpoint?
I posted about it. And I did take a picture with my little trophy and put that up. And I also, the publisher and I updated that book cover. So, this is the little sticker that we got for Creep This Way. The Imaginarium sticker is like an oval. And so we updated the cover with that so that anyone ordering the book thereafter, would have the sticker on it. And I think that it acts as just a little bit of credibility. Like, now, it depends on what it's for, because you see those little stickers all over everything, and some of them are like pay to play stuff.
Yeah.
I don't really want to do that, but in terms of juries, like I don't want a sticker because I paid for it.
Right.
I want to win a little brag sticker because people got together and voted that they liked it the best.
Yeah. You don't want to buy the acclaim, you want to earn it. Yeah.
Right. And what we're saying, everybody, is that there are contests or awards that you apply for and there's no fee. And then there's a ton of them that are out there and saying it's just for $75 per book. And that's what we're talking about with pay for play.
Yep.
Right.
And
that's the difference.
And even those, there are more or less reputable,
right. Well, I got the Independent Book Publishers Association gave me Best New Voice for City of Woe. And I don't remember whether there was a $10 fee or not. I don't remember. I remember being shocked. But yeah, it's what happens.
So someone nominated me for Creep This Way for the Golden Scoop Awards. So that was really nice. You could not nominate yourself for that one. I have been nominated for the Pushcart Prize.
Right.
Is
that Alien Buddha?
That different places. Okay. Alien Buddha has nominated me for the Pushcart Prize twice.
Right.
But I was also nominated for the Pushcart Prize by, oh gosh, now I'm blanking on it.
I'm sorry. It's okay.
Other lovely people.
There you
go. Yes, there you go. Yes, what a great organization.
Other wonderful people. I'm just blanking out right now, and I apologize to those people who nominated me.
We've kept you a very long time and asked you many, many questions.
That's all right. Thinking, what is behind me? I could look it up, but I won't do that to you. But that's nice. I appreciate that. And it was also really neat this year as a publisher to get to nominate people. That was really, really cool. One of the things that Chris and I talked about, and it's in this book, and it's so fun to me to like look back, because at the time this came out, I was not, an editor at a small press for other horror writers. And so there's a chapter that talks about how someday I hope to be able to lift up other people. And then it was just, 4 or 5 months later that I got that opportunity. And so it was so wonderful to, we nominated 6 works for the Pushcart Prize. We nominated folks for the Shirley Jackson Award. We nominated in a few different categories for the Imagine Award. So it kind of makes you feel like a fairy godmother when you can do that for other people.
Yeah.
So
that's great. Go ahead, Alice.
So in sort of winding or collecting all of this into a nice smorgasbord here, we've talked about promoting the material. And again, I think one key element that you sort of stand by is being your authentic self. Some people do have a promotional face and then they have their personal face. But in your case, you're being who you are consistently across the board. And then that helps you feel more comfortable about how you promote the material, because you always know you're coming from your center. And I think that's a good lesson for everybody, because again, no matter whether they have a promotional face and then a personal face, If you are being authentic, if you're not trying to con people, then it's easier for you, even if you're uncomfortable stepping in front of a microphone, speaking in front of people, asking for, testimonials or whatever. You still know somehow, okay, I'm being real here. I'm being honest, and I'm actually saying, would you do such and such? Would you be interested in such and such as a real person? So I think that's a great message to take away from this. The other thing is you also spoke about building community. You don't like the word networking, which is it's a business word. Some people maybe it's a cool word for them, but building community is a solid strategy because you need people behind you. You can call them your audience, you can call them your peers or whatever. There's an organization like what the horror writers are, you need people behind you to some extent. And so building community, connecting with these people is a part of our process. So I think again, what you pointed out and what Chris has pointed out is ways of reaching out to people, sometimes through Instagram, through newsletters, through blog postings. And I think again, when you're doing these blog postings or you're doing a newsletter, it can be sales oriented, as you've also mentioned, but also they can be behind the scenes things, insight into the process. The way Chris and I often talk about what was going on in our heads behind the writing that we did or behind the promotions that we did, or even sometimes the struggles that we go through and how we feel about those things are useful. That's useful material for you to utilize in your promotions. You talk about your dog, your banana bread, and a few other things, and then you talk about sales. So I think that's great. And then the last thing is what it's like to attempt to connect and become part of events, whether you're attending conventions or conferences or readings or whatever. How do you set yourself up to get the most out of that? And again, both you and Chris agree, what value do you bring to those events? Trying to get clear on that. And I think it's so for anybody listening to us, really might want to sit down and think about, where am I as a writer? What is it I'm trying to accomplish? What kind of material do I like to do? What have I already written that I want to promote? How do I want to present myself in terms of, again, newsletter or postings or whatever? And what connections or support systems or communities do I want to become connected to? I think we've covered a lot of that material, but I would love to hear, your response or reactions to any or all of that.
I think for context, I will talk specifically about an event I went to recently that was just so good, so fun, so awesome. And that was Horror Reader Weekend, Horror on the Hudson.
Mhm.
I like that one too.
It was so
It's
much
up on
fun.
Bear
It was at
Mountain, right?
Bear Mountain Lodge. And Christine Harold, who also does a bunch of book reviews, she coordinates Horror Reader Weekend. She has different events planned. They're actually going to Transylvania. I'm so jealous. I cannot swing
Nah, I can't do that either.
financially, otherwise a trip to Transylvania, but I'm jealous. Just
When they
Christine, if you
come
watch
back,
this,
we'll
I'm
meet
jealous.
them with garlic and stuff, though, just to be on the safe side.
But Horror on the Hudson was in, I think the first weekend was like the weekend that was Halloween, and then the first, day or so of November. And it was just wonderful. It was not a huge group of people. It was 50 something people. And it was just really great. There were, definitely well-known authors there,
Yeah.
for sure. But there was just it almost had like a summer camp type of feel to it, where it was just like, oh yeah, we're going to get together for the weekend and do fun stuff. And, Christine made sure that it was interactive. And I think that that's something important, especially for a smaller convention like that, where you really do need that sort of conversational element for it to be a successful event. Giving people opportunities to connect with other people, like kind of designing the weekend around that. There was a great event on the Sunday morning before everyone left. Christine had a really wonderful reviewer, Jody of Red Reed Reviews, host a talk about novellas. Just host a talk about horror novellas and why they're so popular, why we love them. And then we had a big novella swap. It was so fun. everybody, you know, brought a novella or two, and they all put them on this big ottoman in the middle of the lobby. And then you went and you got a couple novellas that you'd been wanting to read. And, you know, it was a lot of fun. Everybody talked about the one that they were putting in before they did so. And that was really great. And then she held like kind of like an open mic. So you could have a reading. And I did sign up to do a reading. I did a reading. But then she had this really fun ghost story open mic night that just, we all got together, you know, in the lodge, and people were invited to tell real ghost stories. They could read something prepared. They could read a story they had written, fiction, ghost story. And things were, you know, kind of lagging a little bit, like people were being a little shy. You know, there were a couple people who got up there. And so I jogged back down the hallway because I hadn't brought it, jogged down the hallway and picked up the anthology that is, oh my gosh, I'm so bad with titles. Judicial Homicide, Tales of Execution. It is an anthology done by Undertaker Books. And I have a poem in there that has a funny story because DL had already bought the cover. The cover was this really artistic, striking kind of white with a noose. And that was it, like very, very simple. And he said, Rebecca, I don't know what to do because I don't have any stories with nooses in them. He's like, but this is our cover. And I said, well, get somebody to write a poem. And he said, you write poems, you write me a poem. But I ended up having so much fun writing this poem, sort of a witchy, ghosty poem. Very long. It's kind of, Chris, it's kind of like my Krampus poem for you, where it's like, it does rhyme. It's fun. Yeah. And so I asked Christine, like, could I read a poem? And she's like, yeah, sure. And people really enjoyed it. And people talked to me about it. They talked to me because of it. And it was just really nice to like just chat with people on a human level. And I think not all conferences give you that opportunity. Some of them are so busy that you wave to your friend across the room because you're so busy that you don't even have time to stop and talk, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you and I have known each other for a good number of years now, and we've never met. I'm looking forward now that I know you're going to StokerCon.
Yep, going to be so I'll be at Spirited Giving and AuthorCon. I will be at StokerCon. I will be at Imaginarium. I'm going to be at Dark Drafts at the end of this month in Pennsylvania. But yeah,
is that a beer convention or is that a?
Yes,
I think it is, right?
Yes, it's held at the oldest consistently running brewery in like, I don't know if it's the whole United States. It's something, so, some kind of distinction, which is
and
really
it's a mix of horror and having a beer. That's pretty cool.
And also at Christine's convention, I did sign up to moderate a panel, and it was so fun. And I got to meet the coolest people. I picked the topic. I pitched it. I was like, "Ooh, Christine, you know, if you did a panel on Gothic horror, I would love to moderate that." And so she let me do it. And it was Amy Hardy, Dana McSwain, Krista Carmen, Meg Ripley, and Elsie Marino. It was the 5 of them. And I bought all those books that weekend. And I just finished Elsie Marino's. It was really good. It was the nicest panel. They took turns. They were considerate of one another. You know, it was an honest, good conversation. And I think that that's the way panels should be. So I know it's sort of sometimes tough to get a mix like that. And part of it was just that I was very fortunate to get 5 really cool people together on that panel.
Every once in a while, someone really surprises you. You know, I was on a Mystery Writers Association panel, and I may have made a faux pas or I may have been brave, but I'm not going to name the author of the book now. But in the conversation, someone in the audience had brought up a particular book as being a great example of a well-crafted mystery. And HR had the moderator's acknowledgement. So I said, with all due respect, that particular book has a tremendous cheat in it. The second half of the book, you know, the murdered victim comes back or something like that. And there's no hint in the first half of the book that that's a possibility. And that's, you used to see that in the old serials that would, have a cliffhanger, and then the person drove off the cliff, and then the next week, oh no, he jumped out or she jumped out, right? And when I announced this or said this, there was a gasp from the audience. And I'm like, I'm hung. And then the most established author on that panel leaned forward and said, Chris is correct. And, so you find people that, like you said, are really great, really generous. And those are some of the blessings of taking those chances. So
yeah,
I've done a couple of things there, Alex.
and I love you for it.
We did promise, fisticuffs at the end, so I just want to give Alex a chance. So
as opposed to swords at 20 paces.
That's right.
So we've got posting, newsletters, blogs, interviews, panels, and appearing at public events like conferences and conventions and things. And these are 7 ways that one can promote your wares or yourself as an author. And I think I want to just say, I think we've covered a lot this particular
and
episode.
I think we've exhausted Rebecca, and I hope it's a good exhaustion.
Well, her bow wow's waiting for it.
That's right.
Still tangled in the Afghan. Right?
Rebecca, as always, thank you for your generosity and your presence and your honesty and forthrightness in doing things like this. It's always a pleasure to have you on Tell the Damn Story.
Yes,
Thank
and
you
at
so
some
much for
point
having me.
it would be nice if we could break bread together, if we're in the same space at the same time. That would
Someday.
But anyway, Rebecca, thank you so much, and we wish you all the best. And of course, we'll be calling on you again and again and again. So deal with it.
Hold up your new book
love
again.
to deal with it.
Hold up your new book again one more time.
Oh, yes, thank you. 6
There you
O'Clock
go.
House and Other Strange Tales.
Now available where?
Now available from Water Tower Hill, also Barnes and Noble, also Amazon, and there may be one more. Target might be in the mix.
There you go. Excellent.
Target
Excellent.
in the mix.
Excellent.
But if you go to Water Tower Hill's website and you click, all of the options are all there together. So
There you
folks
go. That's
can
beautiful. There you go.
pre-order from wherever they would like. And there is a hardback version, a paperback version, and an ebook version. So different price points too.
Cool.
And I also want to wish you, if I heard you right, we talked so much about so much, but I think I remember you're up for another. You've been nominated for another award.
I have nominated. Well, Chris, I think, nominated Creep This Way. So, yes. And I think that I nominated
never heard
myself too.
anything back, so I don't know what their status is.
Well, what was Pushcart? Is that for Creep?
Well, that was in the past, yeah.
Oh yeah. So the Pushcart nominations, they take a really long time. Oh, it's a shortwave publishing nominated me for a Pushcart this year. That was the other one.
Thank you. That's what I knew.
For 6 o'clock?
No, for an absolutely filthy story in the anthology called Shadows in the Stacks. It's a charity anthology.
I remember that, sure.
And it is comedy horror that is absolute filth. Takes place at a nursing home. And
I love your nursing home stories.
I love a nursing home story. And
you have one in Soul Screen.
Yeah. And I did an episode for the Necronama.com on Bubba Hotep. It's like
good old Bubba.
Like one of my favorite subgenres, I guess. Comedy, horror, but also at a nursing home. So
Bubba, I remember the movie.
But I am just so tickled that
Joe Lansdale.
Like some literary fiction person somewhere is gonna read this filthy story about the main character whose name is Sherman, and that just brings me such joy. They're going to be so horrified by that. I'm not going to win, but like we got someone to read that.
Here. 3 times she has said filthy.
Oh yeah.
Right?
You know how many people are going to buy Shadows in the Stacks?
Yes,
I know people do. It's still going to charity. So
doesn't matter.
Buy Shadows in the Stacks.
You don't have to defend it.
On band.
You don't have to defend it. I'm simply saying your word choices matter. when you're doing your promotion, whether it's a spontaneous thing or what you're writing. Your word choices matter. And she hit filthy 3 times because now I'm going, ooh, how filthy is it? You know, that may make somebody want to go buy it.
It's bad, Alex. It's bad.
Hey, well, we'll bring you back on to discuss that sometime.
Okay.
Rebecca Cuthbert
Discuss
can write
discuss
anything.
that.
This is somebody, by the way, Alex, who came out with a children's horror book this year. So the range of Rebecca Cuthbert is just fantastic. Rebecca, thanks for being here.
Who read Down in the Dark Deep Where the Puddlers Dwell will pick up Sherman. They don't need to. No. By the way, that story is called, if anyone's interested, the story is called The Taste of Other People's Teeth.
There you go.
Ooh.
There you go.
So take that title and put it with the word filthy
and that's for adults.
Okay.
And the name of the kids' book?
The kids' book is Down in the Dark Deep Where the Puddlers Dwell.
Do not confuse those two.
Don't get them mixed up. Don't give Sherman to the kids.
Mr. Peabody. Okay.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Thanks, Rebecca. Alex, peace.